You've saved for decades. Now you're ready to retire. But how much can you actually spend each year without running out of money? That's exactly what the 4% rule tries to answer. And today I'm going to walk you through it step by step with a real example. Let's meet Pat. Pat is 65 years old and just retired with $800,000 in savings. Pat wants this money to last at least 30 years, to age 95. So how much can Pat withdraw each year? Here's where the 4% rule comes in. It's simple. Take your total portfolio and multiply it by 4%. For Pat, that's $800,000 times 0.04. That equals $32,000. So in year one of retirement, Pat withdraws $32,000 to live on. That's in addition to Social Security or any other income Pat might have. Now here's the part people sometimes miss. The 4% rule isn't just take 4% every year. You take 4% in year one, then adjust that dollar amount for inflation each year after. Let's say inflation runs about 3% that first year. Year two, Pat doesn't recalculate 4% of the portfolio. Instead, Pat takes last year's $32,000 and increases it by 3%. That's $32,960. Year three, if inflation is 3% again, Pat withdraws about $33,950. The idea is that Pat's spending power stays roughly the same even as prices rise. So where does this 4% number come from? Is it just a guess? Not quite. Back in the 1990s, a financial planner named Bill Bengen studied market data going all the way back to the 1920s. He tested different withdrawal rates against the worst periods in history, the Great Depression, the 1970s stagflation, major market crashes. He found that 4% was the highest rate that survived every 30-year period he tested. A few years later, a study from Trinity University confirmed similar findings. That's why 4% became the go-to guideline. Let's go back to Pat and see how this plays out. Year one, $32,000 withdrawal. Portfolio drops a bit from the market and the withdrawal. Let's say it's at $755,000. Year two, Pat takes $32,960. The market recovers some. Portfolio sits around $760,000. Year five, Pat's now withdrawing about $36,000 a year. Portfolio has grown to $810,000 because the market's done well. Year 10, withdrawals are around $41,000. Portfolio is holding steady near $780,000. The balance fluctuates. Some years it grows, some years it shrinks. But the goal is that it lasts, even through downturns. Now, here's where I have to be straight with you. The 4% rule is a guideline, not a guarantee. It doesn't account for your specific tax situation. It assumes a 30-year retirement, which might not fit if you retire early or live longer than expected. It doesn't factor in Social Security timing, pensions, or the fact that most people don't spend the same amount every single year. And it's based on historical data. The future might look different. That's why it's a starting point for the conversation, not the finish line. So let's recap. The 4% rule says, withdraw 4% of your portfolio in year one, then adjust that amount for inflation each year. It's designed to give you a high probability of your money lasting 30 years. For Pat, with $800,000, that meant starting at $32,000 a year. It's not perfect, but it's one of the most useful rules of thumb in retirement planning. And now you understand exactly how it works. If you want help figuring out what your number looks like, or how the 4% rule fits into a broader retirement plan, that's exactly what we help people with. Links in the description. And if this was helpful, consider subscribing. We break down topics like this every week.